we're using this term accountant to describe Mr. Khan. He was much more than an accountant to Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, he managed the books and moved the money. He oversaw renovations of Epstein's properties. He oversaw payments to what we now know are victims and survivors, what he termed gifts. He was involved in sham marriages, in my view, visa application, fraud, a whole list of activities that normal accountants don't do, as far as I'm aware. But he did for more than a decade on Jeffrey Epstein's behalf.
Part of the reason that you were interested in talking to him is because, as you said, he really helped build the scaffolding, the financial scaffolding around which Jeffrey Epstein was able to carry out his crimes. Did you get a window today into how that infrastructure was built and what it was built for?
Mr. Khan describes that infrastructure as kind of par for the course for a wealthy individual like Mr. Epstein. I think you can see from lawsuits that have taken place around the world, the reality is this infrastructure was designed to conceal payments that were made to survivors, to conceal who was on which payroll, to conceal who was getting which free apartments. So I think we got some of that insight after pressing him. There's no question the complexity of it was designed to conceal a lot of what was taking place.
Yeah, and that's the rub for me in many respects is this was set up to protect a lot of people who financed the operations, whatever they may have been at the time for Jeffrey Epstein, whether it was a real estate deal or if it was some other type of transaction. And at this table, from the very beginning of this, we settled on 2 points, and I think they still remain true. One is making sure the victims' voices are realized and heard in this matter. Mm-hmm. And 2, follow the money. Yeah. Because none of this happens the way it ultimately plays out unless there are people writing checks to Jeffrey Epstein. Was there any conversation about where that money came from, how that money was then used? I mean, yeah, I get the day-to-day operation, and this is, par for the course crap. Right. But the reality of it is this was an enterprise that was global. And that money was not just at the place where, he slept at night. Right. It was reaching a lot of people who were financing that. Yeah. Is there any effort in these hearings, which I think will continue, to sort of pull back that veil to see more where the money came from and who those people are?
He was asked that question and did share some names. He listed 5 individuals who, in his description, paid fees to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of them have been named publicly: Wexner, Leon Black, Rothschilds, and a couple of others. I think another issue that's important here, why do we want to follow the money? Because we want to understand who knew and when did they know that Epstein was committing these crimes. And Khan is another on the long list who claims to have been ignorant of what was really taking place, willfully ignorant over the course of decades.
What did you think these fees were for?
Thank you.
I think that's right. And what did he think the payments to Epstein's assistants were for? And what did he think the sham marriages were about and the visa fraud that took place? He also claimed he had no personal relationship with Epstein. Here's the thing, though. Epstein's will leaves Mr. Khan $25 million. He said they weren't friends, but now I don't.
Maybe I don't know anybody that's leaving me 20. My husband at this point is not leaving me $25 million in the will. Like what?
So it doesn't. It just flat out doesn't add up. It is not credible. And here's the thing that is outraging to me. The FBI never interviewed Mr. Khan.
Why?
The
why do you
FBI
think
never
that is?
interviewed Mr. Endyke, the lawyer. The FBI never interviewed Les Wexner, who we know a lot of the money came from. I don't have a good answer for that. There's been reporting that they had limited capacity. They were focused on trying to get more of the victims to come forward or corroborate stories, but they never made a real effort to follow the money and to find out which other individuals knew about and helped facilitate these crimes, including Mr. Khan.
Can I just say that I have a lot of thoughts after hearing from you today. But it does strike me that someone listening to this will say, This all sounds very sinister. Maybe the conspiracy theorists were right. But why does this matter? What would you tell someone? Why does this matter? Why is what you all are doing important?
You know, when I listen to the survivors and victims, and when they explain why they are continuing to push so hard, they talk about they're doing this for all of the victims of sexual abuse and sexual assault out there across the country. They recognize that there is an epidemic in this country where too many people are getting away with this crime too often. And too often, those who are wealthy and powerful are most likely to get away with it. So I think that's why this is important. Everything else around the edges, we need to know. Why is President Trump lying to the American people about it? How did the money flow? But at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to send a signal in this country that the law applies to everyone. We're not going to tolerate anybody, any children being abused in the way that these survivors of Epstein were.
It's so important. Can I just note, he wouldn't leave me to $25 million because I'd spend it all.
Well, you
As you know.
You would. You know, Congressman, I really appreciate your points there. I think, though, where does this go next, in your view? How long do you think this goes out? We had James Comer on the investigation timeline speaking to that today. Let's take a quick listen.
How long do you think it's going to last if you finish it by the end of this Congress?
Well, that's our goal, and I certainly hope so. I hope it's before the end of the Congress. But as we all see, anytime more documents are released or more testimonies given, it seems like more cans of worms are opened.
We have less than 30 seconds left. Yes, there are a lot of cans left to be opened with worms in them because they haven't released all the documents.
That's right. Half of the files are still unreleased. Illegal redactions continue. Our investigation will never be complete until all those files are revealed and we can follow every lead that comes from them.